In this video, I'll be reviewing the Head Extreme tennis racket to help you decide if this is the right racket for your game. What I'll cover is the characteristics and specifications and basic on-court performance of the Head Extreme. Then after that, we'll go over the different versions of the Head Extreme that are available. And after that, I'll talk about my own playing experience testing out this tennis racket. And then at the very end, I will compare it to a few other rackets on the market to help you decide which racket is going to be best for your game. And then keep in mind, we're going to include links below to the different versions of the racket, as well as more information that I mentioned here in the video below the video. So be sure to check that out as well. Now I want to talk about the specifications and the on-court performance of the Head Extreme tennis racket. So this racket has a 100 square inch head size, a 16 by 19 string pattern, a relatively thick beam, and it's going to be around 11.2 ounces when strung. So overall, this racket's definitely built for power more so than it is for control. It's got a pretty stiff frame, and it's going to be great for intermediate as well as advanced players who like to play singles from the baseline, like to hit ground strokes from the baseline, and need help with more power, depth, and spin. As far as feel, this racket has really good feel for a power-oriented racket. I was actually surprised when I played with it, the feel I got and the touch I got around the net. And it's also got pretty good stability as well as maneuverability. So it performs well on volleys, on ground strokes, as well as the serve. The one area I would say that it probably will struggle a little bit more is going to be on returning. Again, it's definitely not a control-based racket, so you're not going to have the same control that you will with, say, a Head Prestige racket, or even the Radical series. So defending against any fast-paced first serves, defending against any fast-paced ground strokes, you might struggle a little bit with control on that. Overall, this is a really comfortable frame for such a power-based racket, and it's probably my favorite of the power-oriented rackets that I've reviewed so far. So I definitely recommend it for anyone who's in that intermediate to advanced level range who wants to kind of control the ball with a combination of pace and spin without sacrificing too much mobility, control, as well as comfort and feel. So there's several different versions of the Head Extreme tennis racket. This one in my hand is the MP. Like I said, it's got the 100 square inch head, 16 by 19 string pattern. It's around 11.2 ounces. There's also a tour version that's going to be a little bit more advanced. It's going to be a little bit more control oriented. It weighs a little bit more as well, so it's not going to be quite as easy to handle, but it's going to have a little bit extra stability. It's going to have a little bit extra control. It also has a 98 square inch head size, so it's going to be a little bit smaller with a little bit smaller sweet spot. So more advanced players might like that version a little bit better. But the MP is definitely the most popular version. It's what I would recommend for most players. And then there's also a few beginner-friendly versions as well. And again, we're going to link to those below in the description. The beginner versions are the Head Extreme S, and then there's a light version of that. Those are both 105 square inch head sizes. If you are a beginner and want to purchase this racket, that's what I'd recommend. If you have never really played sports before, or if you're just getting into tennis and maybe you struggle a little bit more with hand-eye coordination, you could also go with the Head Extreme Power. That has a 115 square inch head size, so it's a really big frame, and it's not going to allow you to really advance to that intermediate level, but it is a good entry point into this Head Extreme tennis racket. So next I wanted to talk about my own experience testing this racket out. A few months ago, I tested out the Wilson Ultra, which is a similar kind of power-based racket from Wilson, and I actually liked this tennis racket a lot better. The Extreme I found to be a lot more comfortable. It was a lot more stable on returns and volleys, and I was still able to generate plenty of spin, plenty of power on my ground strokes as well as my serve. So I think if I were a singles player and played a lot more from the baseline, I might even consider switching to this racket, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, I don't play a lot of singles. I mostly play doubles, and I like to get to the net. And while this was a pretty stable racket, I felt like I could control my volleys pretty well. There are other rackets out there that do perform a little bit better up at the net that I play with personally. But it is a good doubles racket. You'll see some pro doubles players who do play with this racket. And overall, I really did like it a lot. Again, great power, great spin, pretty good mobility, as well as a level of comfort and kind of stability that you really don't get with a lot of power-oriented rackets. So this is definitely one of my favorite rackets that I've reviewed so far. So the last thing I wanted to do is talk a little bit about the Head Extreme and how it compares to other tennis rackets on the market. So if you feel like at this point the Head Extreme is a good option for you, you might want to demo it alongside some other tennis rackets. And what I'd recommend is a racket I mentioned earlier, the Wilson Ultra. It has a little bit more power, a little bit less control than the Extreme. It's not quite as comfortable, at least for me it wasn't. But you might want to demo that one. The Babolat Pure Aero is a really popular option. That's what Rafael Nadal plays with. It's definitely great for baseline players who like to control the point with spin. And then the Babolat Pure Drive is another great option. It's one of the best tennis rackets on the market. It's a little bit more power-based than spin, but it is a great option to demo alongside these as well. So we're going to include links below to each of those tennis rackets, as well as more information on other reviews that we've done on those rackets, so that you can decide which of these is the best option for you. If you found that video helpful, click the thumbs up button below to support the channel. And for more gear reviews, double strategies, and interviews with pro tennis players and coaches, don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well. You'll find links to anything mentioned in that video below in the description, and to sign up for our newsletter where you'll get double strategies and discounts on the latest gear, go to thetennistribe.com.